And good morning. It's 7:04 on this Tuesday, August 1st. It's time to head to Studio B for Coleman and Company.
Hello, everybody, and welcome on Tuesday morning. The sun is shining, and we're ready to get started here from Vanderbilt Wilson County Hospital. Tracy Pope is with us. Tracy is Director of Community Relations for Vanderbilt Wilson County Hospital. We got a lot to talk about this morning.
Good morning, Coleman. Yes, we do. Yes.
First of all, 4 years ago today.
Yes, today is a pretty special day. I cannot believe that it was 4 years ago today that Vanderbilt purchased our hospital here in Wilson County. You know, we were the first hospital that Vanderbilt had ever purchased, and it's been a fantastic journey. I know that we're on here twice a month talking about all the additional service lines and investments that Vanderbilt has brought to Wilson County. You know, the mission is bringing excellent care closer to home. So I feel like Vanderbilt has definitely fulfilled its promise, and we have a bright future ahead.
Well, I think you've had some glowing reports, too. Most of feedback, I believe, has been positive.
I think so, too. You know, I think anytime that you are in a customer service type of position, which, you know, healthcare hospital is, even if we don't want to think of it that way, you tend to hear the negative things, but I think that we have had so many positive outcomes at the hospital, so many positive things for this community. You know, I've been with the hospital a little over 8 years, and when Vanderbilt purchased us, we had about 500 employees. We're over 800. Wow. So not only are we bringing excellent health care closer to home, you know, we are supporting families, supporting individuals, and just one of the largest employers in Wilson County.
Well, you have a guest today we'll get to in a moment, but there's one other thing we might talk about. You had this big sports thing Saturday.
Yes, we did. So Vanderbilt Orthopedics hosted a Wilson County Sports Conference last year in 2022. We hosted our first one. We did that in collaboration with our Wilson County schools. In 2022, we hosted it at Green Hill High School. It was a fantastic turnout. So we did that again Saturday morning at Lebanon High School. Dr. Lance LeClaire, our Vanderbilt sports medicine orthopedic surgeon, Dr. Alex Diamond, he's a concussion pediatric specialist here in Wilson County. They hosted. We had a great turnout, always looking for improvement, just wanting to educate our community, and it was free. Looking to do that again next year. So, you know, and in the interim, in the next year, we have opportunity to come to your sports affiliated clinic or organization to do any of the training. We had some training on heat illness, heat injury. We did training for the event that happened on the NFL field. You know, if you are on a sports field and your athlete falls over, what do you do in the interim until the medical professional arrives? So we have lots of education, lots of opportunity that we're available to help with anytime.
Okay. Our guest this morning.
Yes. So we have Dr. Joanne Dale, Vanderbilt Urology here in Lebanon, and we're excited to hear from her this morning.
Dr. Joanne Dale, good morning.
Good morning.
It is nice to have you with us today, and I think this is your first time to be here, right?
It is, yes, and it's a pleasure to be here. Thank you.
Well, tell us a little bit about yourself, and we want to know all that you want to tell.
Okay. I'm not a native to Tennessee. I grew up in the San Francisco Bay Area and then moved around the country for my education and training. So I've lived in, you know, the San Francisco Bay Area and then the Pacific Northwest for my undergrad. I lived in Boston for med school, Ann Arbor, Michigan for residency, and then Durham, North Carolina for fellowship. My husband and I moved to Nashville a little over 7 years ago because my son is 6. He'll be turning 7 in October, so that's how I kind of gauge it.
What brought you this way?
Just work and training. My husband's also a physician, so and he was actually fairly heavily recruited by Vanderbilt Children's Hospital. So,
well, so you've told us where all you've been, and that's a number of places, but mostly to the north and west. But well, how do you compare the South to those other places?
I mean, I guess the one thing that I've learned about myself, and I think it applies to most people, is you can find places, parts of any part of the country that you love. And you can adapt to different parts of the country. And it's, and one of the things I like about the South is it's such a nice community, and it's been such a great place to raise my children. And so
the culture is okay.
Yes.
Well, any particular reason that you came to Vanderbilt?
So I was in private practice in Nashville for many years when I first moved here, and it just didn't really suit. It was very, business driven and less medicine driven. And so I wanted to make the transition so that I would feel more comfortable practicing in the medicine and not necessarily looking at the patient as a commodity.
Mm-hmm. One of the things I usually ask people, and especially the newer ones who come here, is why you decided, even in the first place, to get into the medical profession, and at what point in your life. And there are a lot of people who say it's what they had always wanted to do. They dreamed about since a little child. Others, it wasn't that way. But how was it with you?
So I was a child. So my cousin was being born, and we were all at the hospital waiting for him to be born. And there was this little display case of teddy bears that were dressed as either nurses or doctors. And we were all waiting, and it takes forever. This was in 1988. So, and my grandmother was like, "Oh, do you want one of the bears?" Because they were for purchase. And I said, "Yeah, I'll take the doctor bear." And that was kind of where it just, in like the smallest moment, that's kind of how the genesis started.
Oh, I've heard them all now.
I love it.
That is different. That for sure is different. Well, you are a urologist, and of course that's a specialized field in itself. Why you choose that?
So I knew in medical school that I wanted to be a surgeon, and so usually in medical school you make a split between like a medicine field and a surgery field, and I knew that I wanted to be in a surgery field. And I liked urologists as people. I thought they were funny. There's something about what we do that you have to have some level of a sense of humor. So, and I have a firm belief that the people that you work with are just as important as what you're doing. So that was how I kind of gravitated towards it.
Any particular problems getting through medical school? Did you breeze through it, or?
I mean, it's challenging, but I don't know that breeze through would be like the right way to. But it wasn't. I mean, I got through it.
Okay. It's that there has to be some challenges, or it wouldn't be worth it. I guess.
Correct.
Okay.
Correct.
Well, tell us what the urologist is all about, if you will.
Yeah, so urologists are surgeons, and I think that gets kind of forgotten a little bit. So you get referred to a urologist for surgical management mostly, but there's a lot of medicine related to urology as well, but of kidney stones, prostate cancer, kidney tumors, even, prostate obstruction. So, in parlance, people say the Roto-Rooter to like help you pee better for bladder outlet obstruction procedures. But then there's medical management of stones. There's medical management of urinary incontinence. There's also surgical management, and then urinary frequency, urgency, those kind of things.
Is the problem equally divided pretty much between male and female, or do men have?
It's mostly male, but there's a lot. What I always say is everybody needs a urologist at some point in their life. There is a lot of female urinary and bladder dysfunction that gets treated. A lot of that is medical, but there's surgical or outpatient procedures for that as well.
Is surgery usually sort of a last resort after you've tried everything else?
Not necessarily. I mean, there isn't a ladder that you have to climb to get to surgery. It's just a decision making that you make with the patient about what are your goals, what risks are you willing to accept, and then kind of go from there.
Do most people see a urologist like they would the primary care physician, or has it got to be a particular problem before they come to you?
Usually there has to be a defined issue. As far as referral patterns and how that works in terms of whether, I'm pretty sure you can just call the office and make an appointment yourself. I don't think that you need a referral for that, but most of it has to be a defined issue. It's not just like, hey,
And
morning.
Routinely, I'm just going to come see you every year to just check in. So, yeah, that's not your type of specialty.
I think it's time for us to take a break here, and I'll reintroduce the cast when I return. This is Coleman and Company, FM 98.9.
And let's see what's happening on the roadways. Thanks to our friends at Bates Ford and the Works Vehicle Checkup. They'll make sure your vehicle is ready for any road. $59.95 up to 5 quarts oil, tax and disposal. Tire rotation and safety check. 1673 West Main. Now at traffic, here's Chuck.
Boy, it looked like somebody was getting a speeding ticket there on 65 southbound around Dickerson Pike with that heavy traffic coming down out of Madison. It's picked up with some volume just in the last few minutes as we stare at it live on 24 coming up out of Rutherford County, back to school in Wilson County this morning. The kids are out. Be careful as that traffic builds around some of the school zones. Hey, Princess Hot Chicken is catering. You can even order online today at princesshotchicken.com. I'm Commander Chuck with your on-time traffic.
The refreshing cool after coming in from a hot summer day. The perfect temperature to kick off your shoes and relax with a good book. When the weather heats up, a new Rheem AC system will surround your family in total comfort. Are you feeling it? Rheem, the new degree of comfort.
Financing available through TVA's Energy Right program and your local power company. Call Randy's Heat and Air 237-3604.
Rheem, the new degree of comfort.
Renewal happens here at Lebanon Center for Rehabilitation and Healing. Lebanon Center for Rehabilitation and Healing has experienced new leadership and a new atmosphere. Same location in the heart of Lebanon, 731 Castle Heights Court on the Castle Heights campus. Lebanon Center for Rehabilitation and Healing is providing 5-star clinical outcomes to short-term and long-term care residents. Call 615-444-4319 for a tour and to experience the new culture. Renewal happens here at Lebanon Center for Rehabilitation and Healing. Coleman and Company, our program presented by Vanderbilt Wilson County Hospital. And with me this morning, as usual, Tracy Pope, Director of Community Relations. And this morning, we're privileged to have Dr. Joanne Dale, Vanderbilt urologist. And we've kind of talked about what it's all about, but we're going to get a little bit more specific now, Dr. Dale. Why could a person have blood in their urine?
There's quite a few reasons. The thing that you get sent to a urologist for is to rule out the bad things, which would be cancer of your kidney, ureters, or bladder. So the ureter is the tube that connects the kidney to the bladder. But then also kidney stones. A lot of people have blood in their urine with kidney stones, urinary tract infection, prostates can bleed. And then there's some more other nuanced things like radiation cystitis or interstitial cystitis or things like that.
Well, when this is discovered, it's pretty much a warning sign, isn't it?
Correct,
Yeah.
correct. It's never normal, so it always needs to be evaluated.
So if that happens to you, if you find blood in your urine, check out the doctor.
Yes,
Head to the
absolutely.
hospital, do something.
Absolutely.
All right. Let's talk about kidney stones and the symptoms, some treatment options, and so on.
Yeah. So symptoms of kidney stones would be flank pain, which, it's sort of that lower rib pain on your back. It's where your kidneys are located. You can have groin and then lower belly pain as well. Blood in the urine, and then nausea and vomiting because the way the nerves work, you can have nausea and vomiting. I'm not going to get into the nitty gritty of that, I guess. And then in sort of a later stage, if you had a urinary tract infection, at the same time you could have a fever. So,
Well, are kidney stones as common in women as they are in men, or in men as they are in women, or
for the most part, that split. It's starting to become a little bit more common in women. It used to be more common in men, but it started kind of leveling out.
what are some of the causes of that?
It's usually a metabolic disorder, so it's just the way that your kidneys are processing calcium and oxalate and salt and all the mostly dietary things, but yeah.
Okay, well, is there much prevention there, really? Maybe diet?
There can, yeah. I mean, the general dietary recommendations for a stone former would be to drink anywhere from 3 liters or 100 ounces of fluid a day, which is a lot. low salt intake, low animal protein, which includes chicken and fish, and then a normal calcium diet. Those are sort of the general recommendations without further testing.
But as far as treatment goes,
Yeah, so if it's small enough, you can pass it. And most people kind of laugh at me when I say this, but the literature suggests that you have 4 to 6 weeks to pass a small stone. And most people's eyes kind of bug out and say, you mean I have to be in pain for 4 to 6 weeks? It usually doesn't take that long. But if you don't pass it by 4 to 6 weeks, then you do need surgery to have it removed because it can affect the function of your kidney.
is it normal to wait 4 to 6 weeks before you do surgery?
It depends. I mean, some of it then becomes a decision like, do you want to deal with this for 4 to 6 weeks or do you just want to have the surgery now? But yes, a lot of people do actually wait because they want to avoid surgery.
How serious is this surgery?
It's an endoscopic procedure, so no cuts on the skin. I use a thin telescope to go through your urethra and bladder and try to find the stone and break it up with the laser.
This is something you do quite often?
Yes, very frequently.
And this can turn into an emergent problem, correct?
Absolutely, yes, absolutely. So if you have a concurrent urinary tract infection, it can lead to sepsis, which is fairly dangerous, and can land you in an intensive care unit. So if you do have a fever associated with flank pain, it should be evaluated emergently.
Well, I have talked to a few people who've had the problem, and sometimes they talk about excruciating pain. I mean, maybe some of the worst pain they've ever experienced.
Yeah, so some women will actually say that it's worse than childbirth because you know that childbirth goes away. Whereas the kidney stone, you're not sure when it's going to go away.
Well, men don't know about the pain with childbirth.
No, but their wives
firsthand.
always laugh when I say that, when I see them, like, oh, okay, here we go.
But the pain can be very much pain either way.
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah.
But again, surgery is more or less kind of a last resort as far as kidney stones go.
It sort of depends on the size of the stone, the location of the stone. If it's a small enough one to pass, then we can talk about attempting to pass it. If it's too big to pass, then we have to have surgery because it will affect the function of your kidney if you don't get it out.
Most people recover okay.
Absolutely. If anything, it's the recovery from anesthesia after a surgical procedure for stones.
Okay, well, let's move on to prostate problems. You deal with that as urologist.
Yes, a lot.
That's a common thing.
Yes. So it's somewhat tracks with age, but as men age, their prostates grow. So about 50% of 50-year-old men have an enlarged prostate, and it kind of tracks that way. Urinary symptoms associated with be like new onset urinary frequency, urgency, which is I got to go and I got to go now. You have a harder time holding it. It can progress to incontinence or leakage of urine, getting up at night to pee, stuff like that.
Do you ever get rid of the problem?
So you can have, there are procedures and surgery to help remove the obstruction. There are medicines to also sort of attempt that without surgery. But you can remove the problem if you remove your prostate.
Yeah. I guess it depends on the situation as
Sure.
what you recommend.
Sure.
But how successful are you in dealing with those prostate problems?
I think pretty good.
And it sounds like it's a pretty common problem. So,
Yes, very common.
if you're a male and having issues like this, you don't have to decrease your quality of life. Just come and be seen, and there's lots of treatments.
Absolutely. And then, I mean, a lot of things I hear frequently, which is, oh, I just figured it was part of me getting older. And it doesn't have to be. So we can help.
Okay, so but you deal with that, if not on a daily, on a weekly basis, I suppose.
Multiple times a day.
All right. Well, let's talk about any other bladder or urinary problems that come to mind.
Yeah, so urinary incontinence is a big one. So leakage of urine, typically considered more of a female problem, but men have the problem as well. And while the medicines don't treat the incontinence and the surgery doesn't treat the actual leakage, it treats the precipitating event, which is that urge that you don't have enough time to get to the bathroom. So there are medicines to treat that, and then also some procedures and surgery. What else can I say?
Well, I'm wondering
Yeah.
which is easier to deal with, the men or the women? Because you do both,
Yeah.
and they're
That's an
different.
unfair question, Coleman. We don't ask those things.
It depends on the issue. I'll be perfectly honest. Recurrent urinary tract infections are hard because it's just it's a nuisance, and it's a nuisance for everyone, particularly the patient, but it becomes sort of it's hard to prevent, and we tried all these things to prevent, but it just becomes really hard for anybody who's having recurrent urinary tract infections, and mostly the patient, obviously, because they're going through it, but...
You know, what I like mostly about the radio is just sitting and listening to our guest and just trying to sit in the chair of the patient. And, you know, it sounds like Dr. Dale handles this care with patients multiple times a day. But if you're the one experiencing it, this is new for you. This is it's not common to you. You're not sure what to do. So, you know, we're so fortunate that Dr. Dale is here with Vanderbilt in urology. Before Vanderbilt purchased our hospital, we had gone without a urologist in this community for over 3 years. So it is a pretty common problem. Lots of patients need a urologist, need support, and we're so thankful that Dr. Dale is here to support our community.
Well, we need to talk about where you're located.
Yeah, so it's the glass building on 1616 West Main. So
Yes,
on
the
by.
Vanderbilt Health Lebanon building. Lots of our additional specialists are in that location. So Vanderbilt Urology Lebanon. You can always go to our website, vanderbiltwilsoncountyhospital.com. We have all of our Wilson County locations, their clinics listed, and Dr. Dale with urology is over in 1616 West Main Street.
Well, what's a day like or a week like with you? I mean, you're doing surgery, you're seeing
Sure.
patients. It's not, every day is. I can't believe it's the same every day.
No, it's not the same, because certainly it's who you encounter, right, that changes your day, and every day is different because I encounter different people. But I have 3.5 days of clinic and 2.5 days of OR, and then some time to do all the paperwork.
Well, is it pretty much you, or you have some others that work with you?
It's just me right now. I mean, I have some nurses, obviously, that help me out. But in terms of physician or physician assistants or nurse practitioners, it's just me right now. They have hired a nurse practitioner who's supposed to start in November. So that'll be a great help, actually.
Well, as far as surgery goes, what part of your time, what percentage maybe is devoted to surgery?
50%. I mean, yeah, it's about 50% of the time.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
Well, you are busy.
Yes, very busy.
And there are a lot of urology problems, as
Yes.
we've already talked about.
Yes.
But you deal really with all of them. Everything we've talked about here today.
Yeah,
It's just pretty much in a week or two, you've experienced all of somebody
Yeah.
with this.
So the idea behind the clinic here is it's a general urology clinic. So we see all comers, and do the best to manage it here in Wilson County.
For somebody that does want to see you at 1616 West Main, an appointment is necessary, I take it.
It is. There's some back channeling stuff that has to be done, but yeah, an appointment is necessary.
Okay. All right. We got a couple of minutes left, Tracy. Anything else on your mind, or anything you want to speak with Dr. Dale about?
No, we're just so thankful to have urology here in this community. Like I said,
I guess I knew that, but 3 years. That's a pretty good time to not have one.
It is, and it goes back to Vanderbilt purchasing our hospital, looking at our community and identifying the gaps in coverage, the gaps in healthcare, and bringing those services to Wilson County. So, not many people know that Vanderbilt had never purchased a hospital before they purchased our Wilson County Hospital, and we are growing, supporting the community, bringing additional services all the time. The first 4 years have been fantastic, and we have a bright future ahead.
And again, today is the 4th anniversary, actually. It was 4 years ago exactly today, on August the 1st, 2019,
Yes.
when it all took place.
That's correct.
Well, Dr. Dale, thank you so much for coming this morning. This is something you not necessarily want to talk about a lot, but it's something necessary.
Absolutely.
And we're not only glad to have you here, but glad of the experience and expertise that you bring to the table here.
I really appreciate it. Thank you for having me.
All right. Thank you so much. Well, Tracy, we'll be doing it again in 2 weeks. You always have some very important people, some very important subjects for us to discuss, and hopefully it's a great benefit to our listeners as well as to the hospital.
Yes, yeah. Thank you, Coleman, for having us, and looking forward to it.
All right. That is part one of Coleman & Company, again presented by Vanderbilt Wilson County Hospital. We've got more, so we hope you'll keep it here, FM 98.9.
And let's see what's happening on the roadways. Thanks, Absolute Kubota High Performance, High Horsepower, 0% financing is still a thing. Now is the best time to save on new Kubota L-Series tractors, rated number 1 for durability and owner experience in the U.S. Absolute Kubota, 1506 West Main. Now at traffic, here's Chuck.
Good morning. It's back to school in some areas, especially out in Wilson County. Be careful. Watch for the kids as traffic increases now. 24 out of Murfreesboro, Rutherford County, up through the Hickory Hollow area towards Nashville. Wrapping up an accident on 24 westbound over here at Ellington Parkway, Church Street at 14. 2 cars tangled up there in Midtown. And some radar I-40 coming in from Dixon County this morning. Hey, Nash Painting is number 1 in Middle Tennessee, both residential and commercial painters. Check them out today online at nashpainting.com. I'm Commander Chuck with your on-time traffic.
Where a patient starts their cancer care matters. And here, that means Vanderbilt Ingram Cancer Center, Wilson County. It's Vanderbilt level care without making the drive to Nashville. From screening to diagnosis to treatment and recovery, patients can get all the care they need right here close to home. So now, having the best care team and most advanced treatment is closer than ever. Vanderbilt Ingram Cancer Center, making cancer care personal.
Sunshine expected throughout the day today, a little cooler than we have been recently. A high of around 86. Tonight, mostly clear, back down to 63. This weather forecast is brought to you by Walker Auction and Realty, professional auction and real estate services. Get top dollar for your home, land, or personal property. Log on to MikeWalkerAuctions.com, where they know auctions. Let's look at your forecast. I'm Stormy Clausen.
Coleman & Company here on a Tuesday. We welcome you, and we welcome Sean Dozier to talk about Hearthside Senior Living. Sean, good morning.
Good morning, Coleman.
Good to have you, of course, and Hearthside Senior Living, Retirement Assisted Living Community, 215 Castle Heights Avenue North here in Lebanon. Sean is the Executive Director. I believe we missed you last week.
Yeah, last week I got COVID last week, and first time I've had it with major symptoms, and I didn't want to spread it around, so I stayed away from you.
I'm glad you chose not to come last week, but everything's okay
I missed you.
now?
Yeah, everything's great. I was thinking driving over here, business is really good at Hearthside. I've got a gentleman who moved his furniture in, his bedroom suite, his television, moved half his clothes in. Then he hadn't shown up. So I called him yesterday. He plans to move in August, so he's paid for July.
Yeah.
He's paid for August. I call that free money. So that's how good business is at Hearthside. We've got people paying. Haven't even moved in yet.
Well, I don't know exactly how to address all that, but I'm wondering, there had to be some reason.
Well, he was selling his condo, and I think maybe he's got plenty of money, but that kind of fell through. So I think he's kind of taking his time. But, we don't charge people a community fee. We don't charge people a fee to move in. We don't charge a fee to hold it. But he said, I want to go ahead and move my stuff in, and I want to go ahead and pay, so I'll have that room, because we are full and we do have a waiting list. So that's really the first time that's happened where somebody hasn't moved in rather quickly. But he'll probably move in August, and I told him, I said, take your time, that's just free money for me. But he's a great guy. I'm looking forward to having him. He's got a great room on the end there on the AB hall, and looking forward to having him move in. Anytime somebody moves in new, Coleman, you get to know them, and you get to begin sharing really life together, and get to know more about them. We had a gentleman who moved in a couple months ago. I was talking to him. He said, I've got some 8mm videos that my nephew Frank Galbraith is looking through, and a couple weeks later, Frank Galbraith found a 8mm, I can't even say it, millimeter video of a groundbreaking from Bellevue Church of Christ in Nashville from 1967, their first building there on Highway 70. And guess who was in that video? my grandparents.
Really?
So,
Well, I was
you
gonna
know,
guess your father, but
my father's parents from West Nashville. So, you know, it's just amazing when you get to talk to people and people come in new. I had another lady who said, I think I worked with your grandfather at Howard School. I said, was his name Buck Dozier? She said, yeah, that's my grandfather. Not your dad, your grandfather, your grandfather. So she worked with my grandfather at Howard School. So I say all that to say, when people move in, you just never know who's going to move in and what kind of stories they may have, what kind of, videos they may have from the past. I've got so many pictures, and now I've got a video, and just so many neat things that I've collected over the years just from people who have moved in that have some connection to me long ago,
You really love this, don't you?
I really do love it.
Yeah.
Yeah. But anyway, it's going well, and we do have some rooms available. I tell you, when you come to Hearthside, you get, we charge one price, Coleman, as we like to say. We don't nickel and dime you. You get 3 meals a day, housekeeping. You get the emergency call light system. You get laundry, linens. You get towels. You get washcloths. You get free Wi-Fi, cable. You get your nurse on call, giving your med management activities. We have a great worship service every Sunday morning, and we have a beauty salon there. So all in one package, one price, and it's a great price, by the way, for assisted living. So if you're in need, we have a small waiting list, not a large waiting list, not like we do for the homes. So if you're needing assisted living in the next few months, I encourage you to give us a call.
Well, it's like a family in a way, isn't it?
It really is. You really get to know these people and get to know their families, and
your
now
staff.
we're getting to know people that now and your staff. Yeah, now we're getting to know people kind of second generation, which is kind of interesting. So they really do become part of your family.
Well, it's like we say, Hearthside, when it's time for a helping hand. There's not much to say about your retirement community since you got such a long way.
Not much to say, but
people are happy there.
People are happy, and I like bringing folks over here. I'll try to bring one next week, a resident from the independent living, just to talk about it, because they are so happy and they are good ambassadors for us. So I'll try to bring one of the residents next week from the independent living. But we are sold out, and we do have a long waiting list for those homes.
Well, one of the great things about that, though, is it's pretty secure. And you can come and go as you want and take a trip, and everything's going to be like it was when you left.
We have a fence around the property, of course, and then we have security cameras, and we've had no issues in that neighborhood as far as anything related to crime or anything. So it's a safe, comfortable, we'd like to say Christian environment, and you can leave and come back, and it's all there for you.
Well, you hadn't mentioned much about the food this morning at Hearthside.
Well, we have 3 great cooks. We've hired we had a cook leave, not Elaine or Crystal, but we had a cook leave and go to Donaldson, had to move to Donaldson. So we got a great new cook, and the food's great, and I haven't had any complaints lately.
Elaine's doing great.
Good. Elaine's doing great.
Well, she's been cooking all her life.
She has, and she had the restaurant, a couple of restaurants actually, and the residents really love. A lot of them ate in her restaurants over the years, so they love her. They love Crystal. Crystal's been there 25 years. Crystal can really, really cook.
Good. Well, I guess it's time for Hearthside Hello.
Well, I wanted to say a Hearthside hello to all the teachers. My wife, Rebecca Dozier, starts back today, 4th grade at Jones Brummett, and wanted to wish her a great year, and all the teachers and administrators and bus drivers and staff, and hope they have a great year.
Well, I think people do appreciate the attention that's been shown them.
I hope so.
The love that's been sent to them.
Well, they deserve it, and I know my wife appreciates it, and I hope they have a great year.
Well, we appreciate you, and thanks for being with us. I guess we'll do it again next week.
See you next week, Coleman.
All right. Sean Dozier, Executive Director for Hearthside Senior Living, Retirement Assisted Living Community at 215 Castle Heights Avenue North. We didn't mention a phone number this morning, but I will right now, 615-443-1994. It's Hearthside when it's time for a helping hand. I have invited Judge Brody Kane to be my guest this morning. He's right here live in studio and ready to go. Judge, good morning.
Good morning, Coleman.
Saw your father at Senior Citizen Center. I guess it was Friday, and I told him you were going to be on.
Oh, did you? Okay.
And I said the last time I talked to him, I said I sent him a text, and he was in Greece. And that was, 6 weeks maybe ago, something like that?
Actually, I texted him this morning to let him know I'd be on here. But, I think we were might even been on the beach or something, Coleman, and I got that and got back with it. Hated to not be able to take your call, but
Well,
I appreciate you reaching back
where
out.
you were, I didn't even answer you because I didn't know what that would cost. I mean, I got your word. I knew you'd be available later, and you are with us today, so we appreciate that.
Oh, it's
how
glad
was the trip?
Oh, it was fantastic. You know, I was telling MJ before, I'm not really a beach person. You know, I've got this Irish skin and prone to getting the skin cancers and stuff. And but the water there is just unbelievable. I mean, it's just unbelievable.
Where were you?
It's well, we went to Ireland and Scotland for a week and kind of divided our time there. But I was referring, Angel's family's from Greece, so we always end up going over there. And her dad is from an island there in the Ionian Sea, and so we go there and I spent a week, she spent 2 weeks, and just look at that water. It's just so clear. I've just never seen anything like it. So
Guess that means y'all didn't come home together.
no, she stayed a little extra. I had court obligations I couldn't put off anymore. Judge Collins had handled a couple of dockets for me, and and Judge Tatum, I think, had done drug court for me. So I felt like I needed to get on back. And
Well, you have an 8-year term, I believe.
yes, sir.
And what are you, about 3 or 4 years into that?
Well, I'm a year into my second.
Oh.
So yeah, we ran again in 22. So September 1, I'll have 1 year down on my second term.
I can't keep up with
goes
you. But
quick.
you got job security for a while.
Hopefully so.
Unless
yes, sir.
you get impeached or something.
Unless I get ousted, I think I'll be good.
What's this been like for you since you took office? Is it what you expected?
Yeah, I would say it has been. It's just been the joy of my professional life. I'm thankful every day that I have this job and this opportunity to serve the community. I really, really enjoy it. You know, there's different stresses. Practicing law is a stressful endeavor in and of itself, but I always found, you'd be in one court, you're supposed to be, I'm in Judge Bird's court, and I got to be in Chancellor Smith's court, and it's such a stressful thing, at least now where I know where I'm supposed to be, and I don't have to worry about being somewhere else, but I've thoroughly enjoyed it. I really do.
You have important decisions to make. I mean, the people appear before you, and you're supposed to apply the law, of course, and you have certain degrees. I guess you can sentence more or less, or fine more or less, or whatever the situation might be. How does that grate on you much, or?
Well, I guess it's stressful. It's a different kind of stress, but I have certain guidelines I have to follow. We had a sentencing hearing yesterday up in Macon County on a murder conviction. We have tried, I was checking my notes, we've tried 5 first-degree murder cases this year alone, just in 2023 throughout the district. Every county except Jackson has had a murder trial. But, I have guidelines I have to follow. I have to find the range. I have to consider various enhancing factors and mitigating factors and concurrent versus consecutive. But the lawyers do a good job. They really do. We have a very fine bar here, and they're very good about providing me, any of the latest cases, that sort of thing. So it makes my job, easier. But, you just try to look at people, listen to people, decide who maybe you can take a chance on and maybe who you think is kind of out of chances. That's kind of how I try to look at it. So you just take a variety of factors and follow the law and try to do the best you can.
I guess a person does have a right to appeal if they greatly disagree with your decision. Does that happen often?
Not frequently. I think I've been reversed, I think twice, maybe 3 times in 9 years. And those weren't, I don't think they were sentencing issues. It was like a probation violation and a contempt action maybe. But sure they do that. It's frequently done. I think you'll find in the civil realm, they're probably a little bit more likely to get reversed than the criminal, just by my reading of the cases. But everything you do, everything I say and do in court is on the record. It's all transcribed. So you're always subject to review.
How busy are you?
Oh gosh. I was looking, Coleman, we disposed of 6,700 cases last year within the district. and that's with myself and Judge Collins. I do about 80 to 85% of the criminal matters here. Judge Collins handles all the driving related stuff. And I compare that, we did 5,700. And I compare that to Cookeville. They did about 700 more than I did, and they have 2 criminal judges and a 3rd judge coming. So now they cover 7 counties, whereas I cover 5, which has its own set of problems. But I think given the amount of judge hours we have to devote within our district, I think we're very, very efficient. I try to be very efficient with my time, not waste time, but we are extremely busy.
Are you busier here in Wilson County than the others?
Yes, sir.
Is there as much here as they are in the other 4?
Yeah, we're about 65% of the population of the 5 counties as a whole, and it's probably about 65% of the cases. But I only have about 50 to 55% of my time is spent here. I'm here every odd month for the entire month, although I did go to Macon yesterday. And then my even months I'll divide up among the other 4 counties. But yeah, we just have such a large population. And I always say the greatest predictor of criminal behavior is population.
Yeah. If we have more people, you're going to have
more crime. Sure enough.
Okay. Time for us to take a break. Judge Brody Cade with us this morning here on Coleman and Company, FM 98.9.
And let's see what's happening on the roadways. It's all brought to you by Bates Ford, and that regular oil change, $39.95 up to 5 quarts oil, tax and disposal, $16.73 West Main. Now with traffic, here's Chuck.
Good morning. Heavy traffic right now, right on schedule. As we stare at it live on 24 westbound at Bell Road, Hickory Hollow Parkway. You got all that traffic coming in right now from Rutherford County. It looks like it's still pretty busy in from Montgomery County, Clarksville headed towards the Jolton area on 24 eastbound, back to school in Wilson County and a couple of other areas as well. Hey, Prince's Hot Chicken is catering. You can order online today. Check out that awesome menu at princeshotchicken.com. I'm Commander Chuck with your on-time traffic.
Welcome to Hearthside Senior Living, Lebanon's unique senior living community designed for seniors to age in place, all within a safe, comfortable, and Christian environment. Beautiful retirement homes designed for an independent lifestyle with maintenance-free living. Hearthside Senior Living also continues the excellent tradition of assisted living for those seniors who need additional services. Hearthside Senior Living, an independent retirement community and assisted living community, all on one campus in the heart of Lebanon. Call 615-443-1994 for a tour.
What is your passion? How can you use that passion to enrich your community? Hi, this is Melanie Minter, President and CEO of the Lebanon-Wilson County Chamber of Commerce. Your chamber is the resource for making connections to fulfill your passion. Whether education, nonprofit, agriculture, entertainment, or government relations, Wilson County offers a place for you to be involved. Your chamber connects businesses, individuals, and your passion to the community. We have an enthusiasm for excellence. Join us and catch the spirit. Call or visit our office at 149 Public Square in Lebanon.
And we continue here on this Tuesday morning. Judge Brody Cade is with us. I want to digress just slightly here. We did talk about you going to Greece earlier, and what are you big in sports? Are you a big sports enthusiast?
Absolutely.
Yeah. What?
I always say I've got a fantasy football addiction. I don't know if you participate in that, Coleman, but the fantasy football leagues, I'm in several of those leagues. I really, really enjoy that. Big football fan. And
well, you got a T on your shirt today, T for Tennessee.
Tennessee. I didn't attend. I went to MTSU, but I've always been a UT fan. Yeah. So, but yeah, I was born in Dallas. So I've always been a Cowboys fan. Of course, my years here, I'm a Titans fan. So I kind of divide my loyalties.
Well, football, the sport you probably liked the most.
Yeah, it was. It still is to me. I was telling somebody, it seems like every year it takes forever for football season to come back around, but this year it just has flown by. So we're about to get it kicked off again. What's that?
You're getting old.
I tell you, there's no doubt about that.
The years to me just fly by anymore. It's hard to believe that we're already to the 1st of August.
Absolutely. Yeah. I was thinking about that
and this year is already 7/12's gone. If you want to think about it like that.
It just keeps rolling on.
You were talking about a busy docket and how busy you are and so on, and the judicial districts have changed from time to time. From your viewpoint, are we okay right now? Do you anticipate more necessity for more judges in the fairly
Yes, I
short
do.
future?
There is talk again in the legislature about addressing judicial redistricting. I'm kind of the mind, leave the districts like they are and add judges as needed. And hopefully that's what they will do. But yeah, with our population growth, Coleman, it's coming. I think we would probably, I think we could add another judge maybe in a few years, rather than hopefully than changing our counties around. But it's coming. Like I said, the Cookeville district just got a third criminal judge, and we're going with 1.5 or so. So I think that's probably where we're going.
Things seem to be, and as far as I know, have been running fairly smoothly in the court system, and especially where you're concerned here for a number of years. It seemed like the problem has just been maybe the workload, but otherwise things seem to be going like they're supposed to.
I think it is. We kind of are the judges, the 4 trial courts, Judge Collins, Judge Byrd, and Chancellor Smith. We have this convoluted schedule that they started back when they didn't really have justice centers and courtroom space was really at a premium. We always laugh. We don't see each other much because we're always in the different counties, but it works. There's a method to the madness, and we just started.
4 that you just mentioned, each one of them has got to these 5
The same 5 counties, but we have just started within the last several months. We've started having a judges' breakfast once a month, which has really been good. I don't know why we didn't do it years ago. And we meet, typically it's the same day as our bar meeting, and we get together and have biscuits and coffee and over at the Judicial Center. And I always like, because I get to hear Judge Tatum tell stories. He's about the best storyteller I know. He and Chancellor Smith usually regale us with various tales, but it's been a real good thing because we can talk about issues. We've had meetings about our local rules and had folks come in and talk to us. But most of the time it's just us sitting around talking, throwing things off each other, bouncing stuff off each other, and having breakfast once a month.
With the how to express this exactly, but society seems to be changing somewhat, and there are things that we see today that would have been forbidden and almost unheard of maybe 20 or 30 years ago. How is this going to affect your job in the future? I mean, as society changes, we look at even at the laws a little bit different, and,
sure,
and punishment and so on. That's got to be in the back of your mind. So.
They have just a few things. I was glancing at some new laws. They've increased the sentences for some of our more violent crimes of late. I said earlier, I just determined like the range that somebody should be sentenced with. There's several crimes they've now said I have to start at a different range on the more serious crimes. And now it's a new law started several months ago. I now have to tell people if I have a sentencing hearing and render a sentence, I'm obligated to figure out the best math I know when the earliest would be that they could be released. And I have to try to get good nodder time and percentages and try to give them a best estimate of when they might potentially get released. That's something that was unheard of years ago, but I think it's just more of a concentration on defendants' rights, and victims want to know, when someone might get released. So that's added a little bit more work to my sentencing hearings. But yes, things change. I guess we're always evolving, always changing, and maybe not always ready for it or wanting it, but it's coming. And you kind of look out west, California, the West Coast, and you see how things are changing out there, and it seems like it usually travels across the country and eventually hits home.
And the difference in some of our big cities, San Francisco, Chicago, New York, and what it is in rural Tennessee is like night and day.
Mm-hmm. Angel, we used to love to go to Chicago to visit. And I don't think you could pay me to go there now. You see in the news all that's going on. So yeah, I'm glad I live where I live, Coleman. We've got a great place, and it really is different.
How do you feel when? And I don't want to I know there's people contrasting what happened in I guess Washington State and Oregon and out there, and what has happened in San Francisco, comparing that with what happened January 6th, I think it was, in Washington D.C. To me, the two are totally unrelated, but it seems to me that some of these who have and another thing, we hear people just going into some of these stores and just taking stuff. And I heard of one woman who tried to stop somebody from stealing something there, get fired.
You're fired, yeah.
Right now, you're not dealing with that sort of stuff, but you got to wonder about
I'm afraid it may come here at some point, sure enough. I don't know, Coleman. It's just... I've just looked at my years of practice. I practiced law since 1995. I think it's an issue of a lot of it's parenting. We used to have, at least grandmas would step in and hold the fort down if the parents got out of line. Well, now we're getting to the point where some of the grandparents are having drug issues. I mean, it's just I don't know, if it seems like kids aren't getting the limits that they were used to get when I was a kid, and even in years after me.
Well, the drug trafficking, of course, is a problem. I think our loose borders are a problem, and some of these children who are abducted and made sex slaves or whatever, those things they're not, as far as I know, we don't have much of it here, and hopefully we won't, but what happens in the big cities usually filters down.
It happens everywhere. I think you're right. I think it's mostly in our large cities, but there is sex trafficking going on in Tennessee. I don't see it as far as folks charged, but I know the TBI is heavily involved in investigating those. General Meade, who's one of the assistants here in our district, one of General Lawson's recent hires, she came and spoke to the bar about it a few months ago. It's an extensive problem, and I think it starts at the border. I don't understand why more steps aren't being taken to close that border up and protect us, but I don't know what we can do. We're sitting, we're not on the border. We don't vote in those states, but it's just they just keep flooding in.
Then if you watch the right TV channels or whatever, you're tuned in. You hear. I mean, even the president's son is really going through a lot right now, and if he's guilty of half of what people are throwing out, it kind of casts a bad light on the whole Biden family, quite frankly.
Absolutely,
and that's at the top in the country.
And if you're right, if you watch some channels, you don't hear a peep out of it, and if you watch others, you hear it wall-to-wall coverage.
But that, again, I think filters down and maybe results in more lawlessness. If they can get by with it, why can't I?
Absolutely. Not for me, or not for thee. It is for thee, but not for me. I messed that up. We can't have a two-tier justice system, Coleman. That inhibits everybody's belief in the system. And this testimony's come out about the FBI is just shocking to me. I just always thought FBI was kind of above the politics, but if you hear some of this testimony, it sure seems like they're beholden to.
We got about 3 minutes. Let me haven't mentioned General Lawson much. Your relationship there with the district attorney, and of course with Tommy Thompson prior to him.
Sure.
How's that with you judges?
We have a great relationship, and Shelley Gardner as well. We have a great relationship.
She's a public defender.
Sure,
by the way.
sure.
Yeah.
Jason and I both from Watertown, so we've kind of got that connection. And I didn't know him when we were growing up. He's a little bit younger than me, but we have a very good relationship. He was in my court yesterday for that murder sentencing hearing. He's definitely an active prosecutor. He comes to court. He handles cases. I don't see him as much as I used to because I'm sure he has a lot more administrative type stuff now. But he and Miss Gardner both still handle cases, still come to court. It's not a situation where your DA or your public defender is hidden away in the office. You don't see them. They're out there involved in the system, and I think that's great.
All right, we'll end on a happy note this morning. We'll talk about your Tennessee Vols. Tell me, what's that record going to be at the end of the year?
I'm excited. Joe Milton, you see the guy from Florida, Richardson, that got drafted real high based on his physical skills. If Joe Milton can can come even close to exhibiting this physical skills during this season, I think they're going to have a real strong year. I can see 10 wins. I will see. I don't know about Georgia. I don't know about Alabama, but I think we definitely have the capability in our recruiting class this year is just outstanding. Got another 4-star offensive lineman yesterday, so I think we're ranked 6th.
Well, the lady on the other side of the glass there, being the big Florida fan that she is, you think you can take care of the Gators this year?
I think Florida's going to be down a little bit this year. I'm expecting a win this year down there. She just looked at me through the window, so I don't know.
Well, but when August gets here and the Titans have already started practicing in pads, I think, and so it's not long till it all starts, and you're going to be right there in the thick of it.
Absolutely, I can't wait.
Well, I certainly appreciate you. We've covered a lot of territory this morning, but appreciate you being with us and sharing your views, and certainly wish you well as you continue to be the judge here in our judicial district.
Thank you, Coleman. I appreciate the opportunity to speak with you.
Well, glad to have you, of course. That's going to do it for Tuesday. Until tomorrow, when we hope you'll be here for the Wednesday edition, I wish you a terrific day.